This is Ray.
This is Jeannie B.
And this is FDS Local Sports. Jeannie.
Ray.
You're sitting in for Andy this week.
I am.
Well, on behalf of me and all our viewers out there, you're much easier on the eyes than Andy.
Thank you.
Sorry, Andy. All right, Jeannie, we have got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. We have the MFL. We've got some hockey to talk about possibly this week.
Great.
And there might be some other football, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. Let's talk about the MFL. What a crazy week in the MFL. There was 3 games in the NFL. Let me just tell you about those games real quick. Out of the 3 games, Jeannie, we had 3 scores over 50 points. I've never seen a league where the entire league schedule, one of those teams from each game scores over 50 points. A lot of points were scored in the MFL this weekend.
That's good.
That's pretty good.
I think it's good.
Want to break down the games?
Sure.
Let's break them down. Let's start off with your Moncton Mustangs taking on the Island Mariners over in PEI. Now, hopefully, Jeannie, the weather was a little bit warmer for the Mustangs than it was for the Wanderers because, as you know, when I came home that night, I was pretty cold.
Yeah, you were.
I was pretty cold. Apparently, from what I hear, the weather was much nicer for the Mustangs trip.
Maybe that's why the score was so high.
Maybe. Let's talk about it. The game opened up. PEI opened up the game, the scoring at home, and they scored on a missed field goal by Brennan Davis. But guess what, Jeannie?
What?
The ball went through the end zone, and it was a ruse.
I love the ruse.
You had your first ruse of the game right off the bat in the first quarter. But after the Mariners scored that ruse, your Moncton Mustangs went on a huge run, scoring 5 touchdowns in a row. 5 touchdowns in a row. 2 of those touchdowns were rushes by the one and only Cam Morley, which you know Cam Morley.
I know Cam, yeah.
Right? Then we had the Comfort Zone, Dan Comfort. He hit Leslie Green on a 56-yard touchdown. And then we had Akeem White. He returned a punt for a touchdown. So a lot of exciting stuff going on in the first and second quarter by your Mustangs. Near the end of the second quarter, PEI finally gets back on the scoreboard when the young QB Petrosky, which we've been working on that one. Petrosky, you want to give it a shot? Petrosky, he hit Brennan Davis on a 9-yard touchdown catch. But at the end of the first quarter, or at the end of the half, Mustangs were up 41-8, and they just never looked back after that. Dan Comfort did hit Cameron Morley in the end zone again on a pass of 22 yards for a touchdown. But the Mustangs just took over. They took control of this game right in the early of the game, and it carried all the way through the second half.
Go Mustangs.
Go Mustangs. Let's talk about some special players for the Mustangs in this game. You know we're going to talk about the offensive player of the game, Cam Morley.
Nice.
Yeah, Cam Morley. He had 105 yards rushing, Jeannie, 24 yards receiving, with 2 touchdowns rushing, which we talked about, and 1 touchdown receiving. Defensive player of the game, Cameron Bell with 9.5 tackles. Big day for him on defense. Special teams. I mean, I don't even know why we talk about special teams. We know Ben George is going to win this every week, except for, I'm going to put a challenge out to you, Mustangs. How about our boy, Denny Dueron? He's snapping the ball back so that this kid can kick the ball. How about Denny Dueron getting special teams player of the game? What do you think, Jeannie?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Let's throw some love to Denny. Now, lineman of the game is Jarek McWilliams, and then they have this new, I don't remember this award from last year, Jeannie, but they call it the Heart and Hustle Award.
Okay. No.
Heart and Hustle.
Okay.
I think they could rename this award to the Jeannie B Award.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Wouldn't that be?
I'd like that.
I mean, talk about heart and hustle right here, folks. Heart and hustle. cancer survivor, kicked its butt.
Okay, we're going to use that. Okay, that'll get me in for sure. Get anything named after
Genie
me.
B Award. Hey, anytime we got to use that, we're going to use it.
Answer
but
code.
it should be called the Genie B Award, and the award goes out this week to Andre Hislop.
Okay, good job.
Andre
okay.
Hislop.
Nice.
So there's your game. Moncton wins this game 50-14 over the Mariners. Mariners have dropped 2 games in a row after starting off the season 2-0.
Okay.
They got a big game coming up this week. We're going to talk about that when we talk about week 5 coming up. But Mariners got to bounce back and get back on the winning track. I didn't get any stats from the Mariners this week, so I can't even tell you what went on other than the fact that the play that we talked about with Petrosky.
Okay.
All right? Let's move on.
All right.
Let's go
What's
on
next?
to the Bucks and the St. John Wanderers, because you knew this was going to be a tough game for the Buccaneers coming into St. John and taking on the powerhouse of the St. John Wanderers. But this game became tough for the Bucks right before the game even started, Jeannie. This was a tough game.
Why?
Because the Buccaneers could only round up approximately, I haven't been given a firm total, but approximately 20 players.
Oh, no.
And with 20 players, you got to play offense, defense, special teams. That's a long day when you only have a bench of 20
Yeah,
players,
they'll get real tired.
especially taking on the Wanderers. Well, the Wanderers took it to the Bucks. They won this game 55-6, and it's very important I get that score right because I messed up on the score last week after having the score written down right in front of me. But the Wanderers win this game. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, what was... I'm looking at it. Sorry. It's 52.
I did it again.
52-0.
52-0. They
You might
won
want to
this
say
game.
that one more time.
Let's do one more time.
52-0.
The Wanderers beat the Bucks 52-0.
Go Wanderers.
See?
Good job.
It happens. All right, let's talk
Good thing
about...
I was here.
Let's talk about some of the plays. St. John played a lot of their second-team players. One of the kids I got to give a shout-out to right away is Ben Delaney Stewart. This kid had 2 receptions for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns, Jeannie. That's pretty good. Plus, he had a special teams touchdown as well. A kid by the name of Matt Rogers had 11 carries for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns. And our buddy, Nick Brankowski. Okay, now, when Andy and I were over there again last week, you forget about the size of this guy.
Oh, really?
He is a big wide receiver. He also had 3 catches for 57 yards and a touchdown as well.
Nice.
But the offensive player of the game for the Wanderers was a kid by the name of Nick Noel, who rushed and received the ball for 86 yards. So good job to Nick Noel. That's the first time I've mentioned his name on the show. Now, here's something a little embarrassing.
Oh. I have no idea where this is going.
On the Wanderers, they have 2 kids with the last name Seal. That's Seale. Okay? There's Chris Seal and Joel Seal.
Okay.
Now, Chris Seal's the guy from the Wanderers that sends me a lot of stats every week, so I just assume that when something positive happens for a kid on the field named Seal, I assume it's Chris Seal because he's the one that's taken the time to send me the stats.
Okay.
I've been wrong all year.
Oh, no.
I've been giving shout-outs to Chris Seal for his spectacular play in the game.
And it was Joel?
And apparently it was Joel.
Oh, poor Joel.
So, this week, Joel Seal is your defensive player of the game. He had a tackle for a loss, a fumble recovery. He also had an interception. So, congratulations to Joel Seal. But what I find awkward in this, why did it take Chris Seal 4 weeks to tell me that I was announcing the wrong Seal? Maybe he was liking the fact that he was getting all the credit.
I was going to say, what has Chris done?
I don't know.
Nothing?
We're going to get some updates on what Chris Seal has accomplished this year.
Cool.
But for today, let's give all the praise to Joel.
Good job, Joel.
Joel Seal. All right. Now, we can't forget about the Bucks. There's a running back for the Bucks, Jeannie. His name is Van Bowden. Okay. This kid still put up 40-plus yards against the Wanderers. This kid is a former is a rugby player that's playing football for the first time. He continues to impress for the Buccaneers. And then we have a kid, I've never heard this name before either. His name is Tawfik Jabali. He had an interception. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it's as close as I can be. See, it's right there. Terrific Jabali.
Looks
Interception.
like Tufik.
Tufik?
It's hard to know. It's hard to know if you've even spelled this right, but
Ryan Schimmel. Remember, these guys only had 20 players approximately.
Yeah.
Ryan Schimmel
really
puts up 10 tackles against the Wanderers. This kid was dead by the end of the game, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Poor guy.
Anyways, St. John wins this ball game 52 to zip over the Buccaneers. I did not want to report the wrong score again.
You better not.
All right, let's move on to the next game. The next game, Halifax against the Southern MB Ducks. They knock off the Ducks 55-6 at home. I don't have a lot of information on this game, Jeannie. Neither team got in touch with me with information, and I didn't have time to chase down information this week. But I have seen on the Hawks Facebook page that Lucas Brocklehurst, the quarterback for the Halifax Harbor Hawks, he was given the player of the game. And all their games are up on YouTube. So just go to YouTube, search Halifax Harbor Hawks, and it's about a 14-minute video. You can catch the game right on YouTube. That's pretty interesting.
Good job.
Yeah. That's all the football. Oh, wait, before we wrap up on the MFL, let's talk about the standings, okay? Because right now, St. John's still leading the way, Jeannie, 4-0. The Mustangs are right behind them at 3-1. Now the Mariners and Halifax are tied at 2-2. Ducks are 1-3, and the Bucks are 0-4. And the reason why that 2-2 record's so important, because in week 5, in the games coming up this week, you got the Wanderers taking on the Ducks at home. So it's a Ducks home game. The Mustangs are traveling to Nova Scotia to take on the Buccaneers. And in the third game, this should be a good game. This really is going to set the pace who's going to be the third place team in this league after this weekend, because the Mariners are taking on Halifax in Halifax this weekend, and that's for third place. So that's going to be the game to keep an eye on heading into the weekend. That's all the football I've got. Do you have any football you want to talk about?
Yeah, sure.
You
tomorrow.
do?
Tomorrow.
Night.
We have a really, really, really big event going on tomorrow. First time ever. It's called the Senior Bowl. And it'll be at Rocky Stone Field, 8 p.m. And it sounds like it's players from all of the local high schools. So it'll be Moncton High, Harrison Trimble, Bernice McNaughton, Riverview, L'Odyssée, Tantramar, and Mathieu Martin.
Very good. And we don't know what the teams are yet. We know that
Jacob Scharnberg's playing.
Jeannie B's nephew.
He's my nephew.
My nephew, too. Watch out for this kid. He's a beast lineman heading into his senior year himself.
Yeah. So it's great that they are bringing on not only seniors, but
there's going to be some grade 11 fill-ins as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, we don't know much about this game. I believe it's the first time that they've had a spring Senior Bowl. First Down Sports would love to tell you more about this game, but we weren't given a lot of detail about the game. But First Down Sports will be at the game to take in the sights, the sounds, and we will definitely report more information on this game back to you next week.
Awesome. Carry on.
I've got one other thing I got to talk about before we get out of here, Jeannie.
Okay.
This weekend is the NAPA Hockey Heroes Weekend. This is the weekend that I suit up and I go out and I'm not an official. I'm a player, Jeannie. I'm a player playing for the Finnish Elites. We're back again this year, and this is going to be a crazy weekend. They've got some big names coming in, and this is just some of them. But Eric Lindros.
Nice.
Coming to Moncton, New Brunswick.
It's a big deal.
That's a big deal. This guy was a fantastic hockey player, Hall of Famer now. Really excited about meeting Eric Lindros. Chris Neal, Ally Afraidy, Brian Scrudlin, Sherry Piper from your female Olympic team, Darcy Tucker. I'm not a real big fan of Darcy Tucker. No, never been, never will be. Let's see if this weekend changes that.
You might draft him. You never know.
It would be very awkward. Very awkward. Natalie Spooner.
Oh, even better.
And of course, 2 Buffalo Sabres are on the list. You got Mayday, Brad May, and New guy to the roster, also coming with Lindros for the first time, John Scott. Do you remember John Scott? He stands about 7'7". He was a big fighter. He actually was the MVP in the NHL All-Star game as well.
Oh, okay.
So that should be a fun weekend.
Yeah.
One note that you need to know about, if you remember from our videos last year, Troy DeWare will be in the breakaway competition for the Finnish Elites.
Oh, cool.
So he gets the chance to redeem himself from last year's debacle.
Do
you remember the debacle?
I do. I don't even know. Did he even shoot into the net?
You know what? Let's play the video one last time. On our exit out of here, you can see that video. You got to see this video from last year, folks, as Troy DeWare tries to redeem himself.
He has some practicing to do.
Hopefully he's done his practice.
You guys are playing tonight.
We do play tonight. We have an exhibition game tonight, and hopefully he gets a chance to practice his breakaways.
Yeah, I don't think that can happen again, because he'll never be invited to do that.
It would be bad.
Yeah.
That's all I got for local sports this week, Jeannie.
Okay. Well,
did you enjoy sitting in for Andy?
Yeah, sure. It was awesome. There wasn't as much nagging on this side, right?
Exactly. There you go, guys. That's Jeannie B. I'm Ray Dunn. Thanks for tuning in to First Down Sports Podcast, FDS Local Sports. We'll see you next week.
See ya.